She didn't leave because he weren't attractive enough. She left because she couldn't trust your judgment. And that's a different problem entirely. Most men spend years trying to understand why women lose interest, chasing the wrong answer because they're asking the wrong question. They think it's about looks, about money, about what they said or didn't say. But attachment isn't built at the surface. It never was. What keeps a woman bonded to a man, genuinely, deeply, against her own logic sometimes, is something most men never even think about. It's not a technique. It's not a line you deliver. It's a way of being that she can feel before you've opened your mouth. There are 5 things, 5 qualities that activate something old and biological in her. And when they show up together in one man, she doesn't just want him, she finds it almost impossible to leave him. Let's go. The first one most men will dismiss immediately, and that's exactly why it separates the ones who keep women from the ones who don't. It's called inner direction. Some call it faith, some call it purpose. What it actually is at a psychological level is an internal compass that doesn't shift depending on who's in the room. Here's what she's measuring when she first meets a man. She's not measuring his jaw structure or his bank balance, not really. She's measuring his coherence. Is this person the same in every context? Does he have a reason he's moving in a particular direction? Or is he just responding to whatever's happening around him, shaped by environment, shaped by other people's expectations, shaped by nothing? A man without inner direction isn't calm. He might look calm, but inside he's performing. He's managing impressions. He's checking her reactions to calibrate what to say next. And she can feel that in the way he sits, in the half-second delay before he answers, in the way he agrees with everything she says and disagrees with nothing. She's not going to tell you this. She's not conscious of measuring it, but evolution has been running this test for about 200,000 years. A man who knows who he is and why he's here, a man who is anchored, signals something she was built to look for: safety, leadership, the idea that if the world gets harder, this person won't dissolve. Women gravitating toward affirmations, crystals, and emotional content isn't vanity, it's a signal. The spiritual anchor that a man is supposed to provide isn't being provided, so she's filling the gap herself. She's looking for something to follow because the man in her life isn't leading anything, not even himself. When you're the man who has that direction, she doesn't need to fill the gap, she can rest. And women don't leave men they can rest with. That's the first one. What comes next is where most men who think they understand attraction completely lose the plot. The second quality is something almost no one talks about, because on the surface it sounds backwards. Lust control. Not her lust, yours. Here's why this matters at the psychological level. When a man is in a heavy lust state, his behavior changes. He doesn't notice it. She notices everything. He leans forward slightly too fast. He's generous in ways that feel transactional. He laughs a little too loudly. He holds eye contact in a way that's searching, not settled. He steers conversations towards certain places without realizing he's doing it. These aren't crimes. They're just signals. And the signal they send is, my desire is running this interaction, not me. When desire is running a man's behavior, she sees someone who can be controlled, not by her specifically, but by any attractive stimulus. She sees someone whose judgment shifts when something he wants is close to him, and she knows at a biological level that a man whose judgment shifts under pressure is not the man you build a life with. This is why the guy who slept with her and then slowly watched her disappear couldn't figure out what happened. She wanted him, yes, but somewhere in the process, she saw that his desires were pulling him, not the other way around, and she stopped trusting his lead.
Lust isn't the problem. It's whether lust controls you or whether you control it. The man who can look at something he wants clearly, honestly, and still operate from his principles, still make deliberate choices, still treat her as a person and not a destination, that man is rare. She knows he's rare, and she holds on to rare things. The third quality connects to this directly,
because control without something to protect it means nothing. Most women go months, sometimes years, without seeing a man do this once. Stand up for himself. Not in a loud way, not in a way that causes scenes. Just draw a line, hold it, refuse to pretend something is acceptable when it isn't. Here's what happens when a man doesn't do this. He keeps the peace. The moment stays smooth. No one gets upset. But she watches him swallow something, and she registers it. She saw what happened, and she saw him choose not to respond. At first, that reads as patience. But if it happens with the boss, then with a friend, then with a family member, then with her, she starts to build a different picture. This is what female psychology actually does when she evaluates a man long-term. She's not just experiencing the present interaction. She's running a simulation. She's asking, if something goes wrong, real wrong, will this man handle it? If someone threatens our family, threatens our resources, threatens our children, what does he do? Does he manage the situation, or does he manage how people feel about him? A man who never stands up for himself is telling her the answer. The short-term discomfort of conflict is real. She might get upset in the moment. She might even say she doesn't like it. But underneath that, something relaxes, because she just saw that he has a spine. And a man with a spine is a man she can rely on when her own strength runs out. This isn't about aggression, it's about congruence. What you allow tells her who you are. The next one surprises most men because it has nothing to do with how much you have. Point 4 has destroyed more potentially strong connections than almost anything else on this list. Men believe that provision means demonstrating resources. The bigger the demonstration, the more she understands what he can offer. So they arrive with expensive things, with reservations, with grand gestures, leading with what they have instead of who they are. Here's what's actually happening in her brain when a man leads with material things. She sees the resource, and then immediately she starts asking why he's leading with it. Is this what he thinks she's for? Is this what he thinks love is? Is he showing me this because he has nothing else? The resource activates suspicion, not warmth, because she can't tell if she's a person to him or a destination he's trying to purchase access to. But a small act of sharing, giving without agenda, without accounting, without expectation of return, does something completely different. When he's cold and he gives her his jacket without thinking about it, something moves in her. When he's eating something and he just hands her half, she remembers that moment. She calls her friends and talks about it. Not the expensive dinner, the jacket, the shared ice cream. Why? Because sharing is what a protector does. Not a man trying to impress, a man who has already decided she matters. There's a father archetype encoded deep in what women are drawn to in a long-term partner. Someone who is strong and assertive, yes, but also warm. Someone who notices when you're cold. That combination, strength and care, is not something she can buy or simulate. She can only find it in someone who actually has it. You don't need to be wealthy. You need to be the kind of man who shares. The internal state matters more than the external display. She's not falling in love with your wallet. She's falling in love with what your wallet says about how you see her. The fifth one brings this all together, because without it, everything else stalls. Most men are secretly waiting for permission to be excited about their own lives. They hold back. They downplay wins. They talk about their goals the way someone apologizes for having them. They've been told that confidence is arrogance, that ambition is ego, that wanting to win makes you competitive, and competitive men are dangerous. So they make themselves smaller. And she watches a man make himself smaller, and she doesn't feel close to him. She feels distant from him. Here's what women actually want in a man's psychology. Not a man who's already at the top, a man who's moving, a man who benchmarks, tracks, improves, and genuinely feels something when the numbers shift, who says, last month I couldn't run 4 kilometers, this morning I ran 6, and means it, who calls her because he got the client, or finished the chapter, or hit the weight he'd been chasing, not to perform, because he's actually alive inside his own life. That energy is contagious, and attachment is partly contagion. She starts to feel something when she's around a man who feels something. This is also about internal narrative. The words a man runs inside his own mind shape his reality before they shape anything external. A man who speaks to himself like a winner starts making winning decisions before the wins arrive. That belief that this is going to work, that he's moving in the right direction, that the outcome is already in motion, it isn't delusion, it's the mechanism. It's how the identity gets built before the evidence catches up. She can't hear what you say to yourself, but she can feel whether you believe in yourself. It shows in your posture, your decisions, your refusal to shrink, your ability to stay in a hard room and not collapse. She wants to stand next to someone who makes her believe the future is worth having, and she can't believe that if he doesn't. So there it is. 5 things that actually create attachment in a woman. Not techniques, not performances, but qualities that signal something real about who a man is at his core. Inner direction that doesn't shift with pressure. Desire that doesn't control you. A spine that holds when it's tested. Warmth that doesn't need to be purchased. And a belief in your own life so genuine she can feel it. Most men will read this and think it's about her. It's not. It's about who you're becoming when no one's watching. She's only the mirror. Dark male code.